All right, everybody. Today's video is going to be about bot laners, ADCs. So my opinion on the bot lane, not the duo, but just the bot role, I guess. ADC, APC, attack, damage, carry, bot laner, depending on what the champion choice is. As a person that mained support when I played in solo queue, I'm not going to pretend like I have a knowledge of the ADC role. I think it does take a lot of mechanically gifted people to play ADC with all the CSing and the spacing and all that shit. But at the same time, I think they can be the whiniest people on the Rift. Like your job, don't die, go deal damage. Win lane, don't die, deal damage. That's all I ask out of an ADC when I watch them play. I want somebody that the damage to gold ratio is good, doesn't die, doesn't interface off, doesn't when their support's actually getting their team ahead by roaming and expecting you to be able to behave yourself and play in bot lane without dying, that you do that. Okay, well, maybe you do lose lane in the process. But as long as someone else is getting ahead, you have to take the back seat. That's why I said they're the whiniest role, because they don't like taking the back seat. Out of all the roles, they are the one that wants to be the star of the show. But when push comes to shove and the game's on the line, they don't carry, lose the final team fight, lose the game, and then leave chat immediately and blame somebody else when it was on them to carry, right? If you want the attention, if you want all the proximity and your support to hold your hand all the time, sorry for the roller coaster ride of webcam, then you need to not die in lane. Don't get hooked. I say it all the time as somebody that, even though I played Morgana a lot, I would say, don't get hooked, right? Don't get caught out. Don't greed for that extra plate when we have vision. Use vision properly, even as an ADC, and understand that your support has to go make something happen. And then when the team fights occur, that's when the AD carry needs to show up and be the attack damage carry. Now, if we've decided, hey, you go to another lane, mid lane, we want them ahead, top lane, we want them ahead, or the jungle and invade and things like that, then yeah, maybe you don't carry anymore. Maybe you're just dealing secondary damage or something, if that makes sense. But at the same time, you don't want to, sorry about this, this is uncomfortable as hell. You don't want to be in a situation where your ADC is nowhere to be found. We see it time and time again in these international events with Western Korean import AD carries that when push comes to shove, they're playing for KDA. They're not playing for damage. They don't deal a lot of damage. And sure, they went 3-1-2 or something, but their team lost. I don't like that. We see AD carries like Upset and the LEC do that often, KDA Merchant and things like that. I don't love it. Now, do I want a guy that's got a 2 KDA? No, I don't. I don't want somebody that's dying all the time either. Obviously play aggressive, but play smart, but that's the case in every role. But ADC seems to be the role where that is the most critical, because if you're out of the team fight now, we're probably going to lose the team fight, right, without all that damage. So it's a tough balance there. Like I said, I do like AD carries that deal a lot of damage with the gold given. Supa's a good example of that in EU Masters, EU ERLs last year. Taking all the players from last year and obviously at a lower level of play, and I always say that as a caveat because it's important to mention that. Damage to gold, he was the best AD carry from last year if you took all the starters and where they played last year in the 4 major regions. Now, I don't know how it looked after winter and all those playoff games compared to everybody else. I think that stat is going to be even more important now than CS per minute and things like that because of all the Senna games. Senna has kind of screwed that up. Obviously, fasting Senna, not going to CS, so the CS numbers are fried. So things like damage divided by gold, I think, is important. How effective are we? And then not only that, hey, maybe you say to yourself, okay, well, what's his CS plus vision score? What's that number like? Because if you're playing Senna AD carry, Senna support or fasting Senna, you should be getting a lot of vision, right? Your vision score should be high. To offset that CS, you're finding opportunities to get your team ahead by invading the enemy jungle and things of that nature. So, I don't know. I have a little sympathy for people that just can't sit under turret and don't die. I understand things aren't perfect all the time, but I feel like This role is the one that complains the most. Oh, you left lane, I died. It's on you. It's the support's fault. And as somebody that played support, at that point I just said, you're not winning this game, and neither am I. Sorry, if I'm not winning this game, you're definitely not winning this game. It was kind of my attitude, and it was toxic. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I don't play. I don't play games. So if a player wants to int their face off because they can't sit in lane for 30 seconds when somebody goes invades jungle or goes in roams, then maybe they're not. They shouldn't be playing. So, at the pro level, you see the ADC and the support kind of hold hands for much of it. The best supports do go around and make things happen, in my opinion, but there are a lot of AD carries that can't handle that. Hope is a great example of somebody with JDG a couple of years ago that could not do it and was to the detriment of JDG as a squad. There are players that, when push comes to shove and the support's gone, this ADC is a risk taker. They're going to int their face off. They're going to make a mistake, and so that's a thing. What else I think about ADC? Obviously, Smolder is a pick, right? I guess I can just throw this in here. A lot of people upset with Smolder and this or that, and that it's OP and it's broken with the Elder and all. There's so many broken champions that it's almost like, well, how many is it even broken anymore? Like, I don't know. I see a lot of teams lose with Smolder. Smolder actually, based on Game of Legends, keep in mind the LCK stats are fried on there, that they're useless. It had a losing win rate at one point yesterday at 47% in pro play across 24 games at the major 4 regions. So is it really OP? I mean, sure it wins. I mean, your solo queue experience is not equivalent to what's happening on the Rift in these pro games. You may want it to be to make you feel like, oh, in my Emerald 3 game, I'm somebody that's just on the same level as these guys. No, it's not the case. These games are not played the same in any way, really, outside of the fact that you're on the same field. I think Smolder is one of those picks where, hey, let's scale and win the game, of course. And there are some teams that are going to do that better than others. But if you get ahead of that team and you put Smolder in a hole or you put Smolder behind and you keep it from getting online, you'll be fine. Get to Soul Point by 22 minutes. Go for a soul fight at 27 minutes and win this damn game. Fight Elder with Elder if you have to. But, don't, this whole, oh, well, we, it's so OP. It's like, well, they lost to Drake. They lost 2 Drakes. They lost the game. You got a ticking time bomb. It's like playing against Kassadin or Karthus or, Kale, things like this, right? You don't want them to get to level 16. If they get to level 16, you're screwed. Well, Smolder, don't let them get to those stacks or you're screwed. Pretty cut and dry. You got to play around that. You got to play an aggressive team composition. You got to punch it in the mouth. And some teams don't want to do that. There's no, they want to play passively into it. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to lose the game. You're passively deciding we're going to lose. So I don't think Smolder's all that broken myself. So bot lane, I mean, I don't know. I guess this was more of a rant than it was a video on how I feel about the bot lane. Like I said, there's a lot of elite players, mechanically gifted players at the AD carry role. But we're also seeing a lot of players that, int their face off when they don't have to in this role more than any other, in my opinion. And I think it's because they play in a role where it's a duo, so they can blame somebody alongside them when really it's their fault. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.